1203.
Draft budget is.
Jeff, you are the chair.
Oh, I am. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Still trying to magnify?
I'm still trying to remember how to get to the magnifier.
We have, just so you know, in your packet, isn't it bigger? In your packet, it's a lot bigger, which will help. You probably still can't read it, but.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Need approval of the prior meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Now the review of the proposed 2024 operating budget.
And it should say 2025 operating budget.
25? Yes,
My
it should
bad.
be.
How did I miss that?
Is Greg going to lead us through this, or how are we going to do this?
That would be excellent if
If Greg would like to do that?
We would all like Greg to lead us through.
I don't know that there are any big surprises here, but Greg can talk through the technical details.
Yeah, I think we've had a very good monthly meetings. I think we're all pretty much pretty transparent on everything that's going on. We've been pretty consistent, I think, from the beginning of the year. As you can see, I try to provide some detail with respect to the overall income and expenses, what we project to the end of this year based on where we were through August, what our budget was for this year for 24, and then what we're budgeting for 25. That is this big detail sheet. I did provide some highlights here that maybe I'll just start with to go over and really just talk about some of the variances. The first top of the buckets, if you will, is the projected 2024 income and expenses, and then what we projected in our 2024 budget. And I'll just go through some of those pieces there. So the overall change in net assets is our profit, and that's up what we had budgeted for, and that's a bunch of different pieces. But again, a lot of different things going on this year comparatively. We got the micro loan fund, which generates some income for us. We have significant amount of interest income that we really haven't had in the past, and obviously this year we've had a bond closing fee that was $250,000 that kind of moved things either way. So overall, it's a very good year for the organization. Revolving loan fund portfolio, and also the micro loans that makes up that $256,000. So pretty close to our budgeted number. And again, the big difference there is, we estimated when we did our budget for our investments, that's really based on how much excess working capital we have, and whatever we deem that we need for current obligations, we keep in our checking accounts. If we think we're going to have excess over a 3-month period, we look to buy treasuries at varying rates and go through that process. So that piece alone, we're projecting to be approximately $153,000 this year. We had budgeted about $100,000, and I think that's because we really had more excess cash than we had thought. We're pretty close on our IDC revolving loan funds amount. The other big variance there is the micro loans. Again, I think we're picking up pace at the second half of the year. I don't think we had enough out there in the beginning half to generate that interest, and that's why that interest income on the micro loan program is a little bit less than what we had budgeted. But again, we can start to see some uptick there. So, but overall, our investment income is pretty close to what we had budgeted. Fee income, again, the big difference there is really two items. Is that the bond fee that we generated, about $240,000 of what was not budgeted, and then on the flip side, we didn't have as many new 504 loans where we get that funding fee income in for this year. So those kind of, as you can see, those net to about that positive $172,000 difference to what to the good to what we have budgeted. Payroll and benefits, again, that really, the majority of that is all of our, increase in our payroll relating to our microloan employees that are managing that program. And that was, I don't know why that wasn't budgeted for, we didn't have, maybe that was budgeted
We
at
weren't quite
different.
sure yet.
Yeah, for that. Incentive programs, again, pretty much, on target. Those are really hard to predict a little bit, you really just don't know, but I think overall, we projected 247 on a budget of 262. That's been pretty consistent. Economic development, again, our expenses are a little bit lower than what we had budgeted. I think the main driver there is we had budgeted a higher amount for the CDL program that came in at about $40,000 less than what we had expected the ask to be. And then G&A is pretty much, again, pretty much on target, a little bit less than what we had budgeted. But overall, a very good year for the organization. Anticipate that continuing for next year. You can see all the detail of the ins and outs, but I don't know if anyone has any questions on 24 projected to 24 budget. Be happy to answer any of those, and then we can get into 24 and then kind of a comparison where we think we're going to be next year.
I want to give a shout out to Allison for her work with the economic development staff, getting folks out the door and really on top of promoting our microloan program. So as you all know, the American Rescue Plan fiscal recovery funds that we're utilizing for that program have to be expended by end of 2026. So we're on a deadline, and anything that we get out the door in the form of a microloan by the end of 2026 will come back to the organization. And that will effectively become a smaller revolving loan fund. So thank you, Allison.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a little bit before. And I think everyone that's sitting in this room has been on this board for quite a while. But the organization is quite a bit different and more complex than it was 3 years ago. Before we used to get fee revenue in. If a bond came in, it was like Christmas, right? And our expenses were pretty consistent and was kind of, doing that. I think the organization has changed quite a bit. Again, a lot more things going on, to the credit of everyone in this room that supports those things. So kudos to everybody on that, but certainly in a really good financial position moving forward. 2024 to 25, I'm going to kind of touch on the highlights. You see the detail there. Again, overall, projecting a very similar profitable relationship, mainly due to some of the income less expenses for the microloan program. That's a significant, in theory, profit for us. For last year and this year. Interest income, you can see the buckets. We are anticipating having a little bit more excess cash this year, right? We're not, right? We have profit. Again, that varies. Sometimes we may have a little bit deficit in the next few, beginning of the year, but we'll pick that back up as we get reimbursed for some of those loans. But overall, we have calculated a little bit more excess working capital, and then the rate to be about 4.5% on that work excess as the rates start to come down, and maybe even less than that. It's hard to predict right now. I mean, I think I just looked at the rates.
They're all under 5.
Yeah, but again, even
long term they were 3.
We looked at for the IDC, specifically looking to buy out a treasury. In July of 26, we're at about 3.5%. So you can see where before we were at about a little over 5.
5, yeah.
Those rates are coming down. So again, that's hard to predict, but just so you know, there's some methodology on how we're predicting an estimated $167,000 of interest income from our treasuries. IDC loans are coming down because our principal really is coming down. We haven't projected any additional outflows for that. And then our interest income on our microloans, we anticipate that increasing mainly due to the loans that we're going to be coming out in the last quarter and throughout next year, kind of a weighted average calculation to get to that $111,900. Fee income, again, we basically, you can see the fee income, again, we don't generally budget for bond income, right? And that's the biggest difference there. It's hard to predict on what those are when those come in. Like I said, it is a good benefit for us, but, that's down quite a bit compared to where we are projected, where we are gonna be.
Do we
this
have
year.
any in the hopper or talk? Barry?
We have had a discussion with a banker, an underwriting firm that is working with the Jewish Home about a potential transaction. Really, it would probably be first quarter of 2025,
Okay.
but they're waiting on state approval. And they've been waiting on state approval, and they will continue to wait on state approval in order to enter into the transaction. So, because they need Department of Health and other state approvals, they need that really before they can apply. And so, I wouldn't expect an application maybe until, early January. That's assuming they get the approval.
Yeah.
Other than that.
That's good for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking nothing.
Yeah, before that call, we were
How
not.
big is the bond?
It's unknown. They have existing debt outstanding that they could
So they
potentially
could
look to
potentially roll
refinance.
into it.
Yeah, but based on certain discussions, if they just did the new construction part, it'd be like 25. If they did some more stuff, it could be upwards of 40 to 50 million.
Good. Always good news.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
In terms of our overall expenses, payroll and benefits, again, general standard increases. We have budgeted for incentive programs, which really represent our grades are pretty consistent to where we were last year. Again, we're trying to do our best to really estimate that based on last year, what's in the hopper and then historical. Economic development really is represented by our CDL program, economic gardening program, the BOCES program, our career ladder program, and then retain are big pieces of that. And then we do budget for a little bit of we do have a little bit of flex in there that we budget for just in case something comes down the pipeline that we want to support. But again, overall pretty consistent from where we've been. And then I think our G&A expenses again are pretty consistent to where we have been in terms of overall expenses. Again, a big thing that we didn't budget for last year was the marketing. That we're getting reimbursed. Are we getting 100% reimbursement?
Yeah, we've got $40,000 for marketing for microloans.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we obviously spend that, but
Nice.
we submit for
We
those.
get reimbursed.
We submit for those reimbursements. But
Where does that reimbursement come from?
the county, the ARPA program allows us to have a certain percent and a maximum of expenses that we support the microloans that. Again, payroll, marketing, all those
Yeah, I
different
think
things.
it's like $1 million in administrative over the 4 years. And the
And
marketing,
we've used, what you said, 40,000?
40,000 we have for marketing. And it's working, cause we're getting a lot of people in.
Yeah. Yeah, you could see the uptick in the applications over the last.
We did it in
probably
what, June?
June.
We did it in June or July and we saw a huge uptick, and then we didn't do it in August and we saw a downturn, and then we did it again in September and we're getting an uptick. So
Okay.
we've been sort of testing the waters, and it does seem to be working.
Yeah, the big differences there is really our bad debt may fluctuate, again, that's just really a non-operating thing there, but we haven't, I think, to date, I think we've only had one.
What default?
There's a couple that are.
Couple that are on the edge,
Yeah,
that got
but-
some nasty letters, but yeah,
But-
only 2 of those, so.
We're, I don't know, maybe better than
Better than we expected.
anticipated.
Yeah,
when you
much
deal
better.
out And,
Good.
$40,000-$50,000 chunks, you kind of just don't know, but overall, like I said, I think it's a good plan. We have a good plan. We have a strong balance sheet. Certainly there's opportunity to take some of that excess and do some other things, but we budgeted, a net profit of $725,000. Again, most of that comes from the microloan program, the ins and outs on that. But other than that, I think we're in a really good spot, and I think, our budget looks good for 2025. Any questions on any of the detail or any of the assumptions that we may have used, questions? Well, that was easy. But I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of good things going on.
Okay, well,
Do you need a motion?
I was gonna ask, I need a motion to,
Recommend,
accept the
yeah.
budget so we can present it to the full board next week.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
good job.
Thank you.
Love a budget with no brackets, Greg.
It's flipped over the last couple.
I know.
Yeah, look at that, we're in black now.
Yeah, that's,
It's all thanks to your stewardship. Greg, thanks for leading us through that.
is there any other business? Oh, we're gonna review the current accounts and investments.
I guess, yes.
That's on the agenda.
It is, and we were just talking about that. If you recall, remember we had all those bank accounts at all those different
Yes.
banks, so that's why it's still on there, and
Yeah.
Greg can,
Yeah, I would just say for finance, for the committee's purpose, last year we had a lot of different banks and CDs, those are all gone. We have 4 accounts under the IDC now, is we have a checking account, we have a money market account, we have a micro loan account that's kept separate from operating, we fund that, and then obviously all the transactions come out through there, which is a lot easier, cleaner, neater, and things like that. And then we do have a gain loan fund that was, again, money put in that we had loaned back out, that we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with that excess cash that's in there now. But those are the 4 bank accounts that we currently have, they're all with M&T. Any questions on any of those accounts? Questions, comments?
And we've looked, I mean, we just did that, so there's no need probably in the near future to, put our banking out for bid or anything, or RFP or anything, since we just recently did that. I don't think, but I just wanna make sure you guys are okay with that.
I think we're safe. We had a goal to, get all those reduced and, have them to make sense for, the corporation, and, I think we met those goals.
Close. Okay.
And again, M&T, they do well for us, they're a good bank in this industry, right, very well versed, so.
Have they said thank
Cause
you?
do we ever put it out to RFP though? I thought we were gonna consolidate and then put it out to RFP.
We had talked about that.
Yeah, so.
That's why,
I guess,
but I mean, as
as
part
long
of
as it's
this,
working, that's,
I think we did it verbally, right?
Yeah.
We talked to,
Yeah,
I think we talked to 3 or 4
Yeah.
banks, and
Then,
M&T
yeah,
gave us the
seems
best rate.
great. Okay. So, yeah, I mean,
I don't
I'm,
recall
I'm fine with it
that, I
then.
just recall that as default. I mean, we had been with them, is that true? They gave us the best rate?
That was my
well,
understanding.
we had talked to a couple
I
different.
thought we were gonna consolidate and then put it out to RFP,
I just thought, because
but if we talked to
most of our money was there. And the other accounts that we had, we needed to somewhat reduce them or get away and try to make sense of it. Default, M&T is, I don't know that we went around the shop, for any big deal or anything. I mean, just default, they come out as the folks that,
have it all.
that have it all.
That was my recollection
Yeah.
as well.
Again, we did talk about cleaning this up, consolidating, and then going out to RFP potentially, like, hey, but again, I think that I mean, my comment would be for what's the benefit? I mean, we get, in terms of besides rates,
Right.
it's certainly a lot of work to
Switch banks.
in what we're currently doing, and I think all the I mean, I don't know, I haven't talked to, are very competitive right now in terms of like, okay, like, hey, everyone's pretty consistent. I mean, I don't know if it's a half a point, I mean,
Yeah,
we're not getting
I'm
much.
fine with what we're
Yeah, I
doing,
don't
I just think we should document it, where I think the original, what we discussed last year was to put it
Yeah,
out to
I was
RFP,
just
that we
saying the
decided.
original minutes.
The original minutes said we were gonna put it to RFP.
If we're gonna put it to
and we-
RFP,
And just evaluate
say
it.
that as we did the consolidation, we've talked to other banks and we feel that we don't need to do an
Yeah.
RFP because we're getting the best we can at M&T.
And we'll just evaluate it annually at
Yeah.
the October, the
I think if we
meeting
put
is.
that in this minutes,
I think that's fine.
I think that'll cover us on that.
Because that was a lot of work on consolidating anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. I got my steps in. And put some miles on my Prius.
There's no other bank that is gonna do, that, I don't think.
Oh,
No.
they're the big game in town.
So have they thanked us? I mean, is there any,
Dan
do we have a
Burns bought me
relationship
drink once
manager?
at a
Oh, we do.
conference.
Do they have a relationship manager that, I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
because they're
Oh,
really
he-
good.
Very good.
He gives
They're-
me the
very
same
good.
day,
M&T
yeah.
is really good about thanking their customers usually, so I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure they
Yeah.
are.
We have a lot of like online services, online payment portals, those kinds of things
Yeah.
that they don't charge us for,
We're
obviously,
not
and they're very
asking for
When we-
responsive.
at the,
Yeah, oh, no, we don't
We
need
get
to.
cookies around the holidays.
No, no,
We should
it's
share
okay.
those with the board if you do.
I think when we, just like, again, when we ask, they do,
Whatever.
whatever we ask for, I mean, generally, right, like, hey, increase our rate. Right now, we're probably gonna be going the other way, cause we do get, without the treasuries, I do think we were getting 3% just in our money market,
Yeah,
right? So, that'll probably go down a little bit.
as fast as we can do it, the banks are trying to get those rates down.
Yeah, but again, they've been, again, very amicable. Every time we've asked, like, hey, waive this, do that, they've done it.
Good. Okay. Any other business to come to this committee?
No.
Great. Then I would, ask for,
Do you want him to just comment on the investment portfolio?
Do I have that? Is it in the packet?
No.
no.
The ladder T-bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, we, so, do you know if that was in what Alex sent today or not?
No, it was not, it was all budget.
I saw there was another one though. So, yeah, so for the IDC, again, we buy everything through Wilmington Trust. We have about 3.8 million dollars in treasuries that expire generally every 3 months. Our next one is,
It just came up,
oh,
didn't it?
just came up?
What, didn't we just have one?
Yeah.
For 140 something?
140,000, that is coming due on Thursday. And again, so the thought is when those mature and we don't feel like we need that cash to come back, we go out 3 months after our latest purchase, which was April of 20. Get my years mixed up, we're going so far out. April of 26. That was our last purchase, and now we're looking to take that 140,000 and we're looking to buy a treasury bond or note probably in July of 26.
Okay.
And that current rate is 3.5.
Good.
So we got good, risk mitigation there in terms of trying to,
That's why we're laddering them.
right? And I think we're in a good process. And like I said, we've gotten good return, and we're going to continue to do that. And if things change, the environment, obviously, that's going to change a little bit. You think, but we still have excess working capital.
Yeah.
And if we think we need to get back to the table and talk about a different strategy, I'd be happy to do that at any point in time.
Okay, that works.
Just make that sure that we articulate that to the board. so they understand.
Okay.
And that they're excited about it.
We're excited.
But we took a long journey to get here. you know?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, and I've said this before, is that we don't stop and acknowledge, those things. It's like, we haven't done them. So I do think that you have to have a pause that says, this is where we're at. This is where we see the corporation now. Especially, all of the growth and stuff that we've had to take on, after the pandemic, getting, money from the government and everything else. It's gotta be put in perspective,
Right, that wasn't that long ago.
Right. And we have to acknowledge the work that the staff has done in order to, make this happen, and so, maybe we have to figure that out.
Yeah, before the end of the year, we'll have to, when do I typically deliver the presentation to the board about recap of the year that was?
December.
In December, yeah.
So we'll see, we might push it to
build a
January
narrative.
depending on Anna.
I was gonna say, I think we've had to push it to January in the past.
We
so
have in the
if-
past
if-
before,
if
but
we-
this would be a,
This
I
would be,
mean, whenever
Yeah.
you get back, I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, but we'll, incorporate that in the context of that presentation.
Yeah. Really has to be a highlight,
Mhm. And we have more to come also with all of these various initiatives, looking at our grades. We're having internal conversations and we're gonna talk to Hanif and ultimately the full board about, revamping some of our programs moving forward. And I think once 2026 rolls around and the microloan fund is wholly owned by the corporation, we can get creative around, building in some additional tiers to that, treating it as a smaller revolving loan fund, and then also looking more strategically at our revolving loan fund as a way to creatively address the needs of the current employer landscape. A lot of our programs are premised on needs that existed, 20 years ago. So, obviously, different times right now.
Everything evolves,
mm-hmm.
everything changes. Hopefully it's for the good, this has, I think.
Unfortunately, we have adjusted.
All right. Anything else? No. Motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.